I was reading one of your article, a small article. It's called International Women's Day.
Yes, yeah.
And I quite liked it. It's really, really good.
Thank you.
And it covered, lots of things about, this feminist movement and how, it was stolen by this neoliberal structure. I read a couple of things from Titi Bhattacharya. She's more radical left-wing Marxist feminist. So I think her recent book is for 99%.
Okay.
It's a kind of manifesto.
I think I saw that book.
So some of the things you kind of mentioned, she also talked about, how the strike and the socialist, the root of this whole movement. Then later, how UN was trying to, co-opt this Western kind of model, and then just commercialize the whole product, and then celebrate individual rather than collective.
Yeah, I think it's everywhere. It's I think that even in the critical theory and even in the academia, I find it, I think because the postmodernism and post-structuralism, or I should say, the misunderstanding of postmodernism and post-structuralism, or intentional misunderstanding, misreading of those, we became more and more individualized, more and more we just deny to see any kind of structural issues.
A couple of technical things. I mean, I will ask you because you are quite into this kind of area. I mean, sometimes I struggle the structuralist, post-structuralist, postmodernist. So will it be okay to just give some kind of very layman's understanding about?
Sure. The way I understand, because
yeah. So your understanding.
Because I'm not I didn't. long ago, but I have a kind of gist idea in my head, so yeah, of course.
Yeah, because whenever we talk about postmodernism, we talk about Foucault, but also I think Derrida also plays a big role.
I think from 90s, the emergence of, or maybe earlier than that, especially in critical theory, in every especially anthropology, there is a emergence of post-structuralism and postmodernism, and at the same time post-colonialism, we used to call it posties. So there is a tension, and the way I feel, especially because my position is very much feminist post-structuralist, and from that feminist post-structuralist, the feminist I follow, like Dora Haraway, Sandra Harding, that's the I would say that their position is strong objectivity, feminist standpoint theory, and the feminist standpoint theory, partial knowledge, these are all coming from positionality of people. So the problem, the post-structuralism, if I want to kind of summarize the way I understand, the post-structuralism is kind of gave the power to agency, to people's agency. Not like everything is controlled by the structure, everything is systematic operation, everything is under system, and state and powerful people are controlling everything. If we see the structure, if we see that even socialist structure or economic structure or political structure, so post-structuralism gave a little bit voice to agency within that structure. And there is always a tendency, is a kind of, I always see that agency structure are like that, linked like that. It's not separate. So, but then many post-modernist theorists, their attitude is okay, it's too much. There won't be any identity, fixed category, any kind of essentialization became the if someone says for academic that you are essentializing this, that means the worst critic ever. Essentialization became the curse for academia, for scholarship. Okay, now I can't essentialize things, it's homogenize things. So it's a kind of heterogenize it, things, the nuance differences between things, and that's how the structural integrity is disseminated. So for postmodernists, there is no structure, or there is no, it's all about like fluidity, all about hybridity, all about, so it's like all the solid melt into the air. That's the famous topic. But because I am very much my position is very much feminist post-structuralism, I see, and especially I always, I think my Bible is Donna Haraway's situated knowledge. And it's like such a, it's like every time I see something, I find the relevance of it. Because when she says, like there was the knowledge, the God's eye view, the white man European knowledge, Eurocentric knowledge was like a God's eye view. It's from view from up, like it's like a Google Earth. We're looking down with everything. That's a kind of God's eye view. And then to counter that, post-structuralists, I would say that many intentional misinterpretation of postmodernism perspective will be view from everywhere. So is everywhere's perspective is like, okay, oh, it's your perspective, it's my perspective, it's your, so it's became view from everywhere. Donna Haraway would say that, like view from everywhere, which sometimes we can conflate with cultural relativism, because relativism is everything is relative. Truth is already always relative. Okay, so that's the postmodernist logic. But our brain is very much structured. When you see something, when you tell something that, okay, truth is relative, we immediately deny the truth of any kind of existence of truth, because relativity is not absolute in our mind. Truth has to be absolute. So, if my point is our inability to understand postmodernism led us, or intentional inability led us to deny any kind of structural power. And that's kind of very risky, and that's kind of picked up by neoliberalism, and that it will actually disseminate everything. It will actually make us incapable to see the systemic power relations. Racism, sexism, patriarchy, these are not individual. Like the slogans, like all the contemporary feminist slogans are like, take like self-care. If one woman become the representative, she will break the ceiling, but she will break the ceiling for herself, not necessarily for everyone. So idea is that if everyone break their ceiling, the glass ceiling, then the society will change. But society won't change because the system is not changing. So if we do not see the system, then we cannot actually. So we are not really becoming actually post-structuralists or postmodernists. We are becoming relativist. And relativism is problematic in a way that's why Donna Haraway would say that what we need for strong objectivity, because we see that, okay, if truth is not objective, then it's not true, okay? And then subjectivity is a problem. So it's a kind of your post-structural or postmodernist would say that, okay, everything is subjective. Subjectivity is like in the center. But that subjectivity is not individual. Its subjectivity depends on the structure. It's constructed within the structure. And that's what situated knowledge come from, that everyone is situated in their specific power relation in relation to the structural apparatus. So I am not really like an individual person. It's not my choice to go out or not go out. It's not my choice to prefer like even everything, like it's my desire, my ambition, my personal preferences has structural influences. And if I do not do not see where I am located, how my choice is constructed through the society, then I became the individual as a person. So what neoliberalism is doing is breaking the relation between society and people, breaking the relation between structure and agency. And they're saying, okay, agency, personal agency is the main thing. So in general, it's a very lame way, very, I don't know how much I managed to say, but my positionality is that my positionality is not my individual. It's the way historically way I am as a brown. I'm not brown. I didn't choose that identity as a brown woman. Okay, I wasn't a brown woman until I came to Europe in a white area, in white supremacist area zone. So when I am situated in a white supremacist zone, only then I became brown. But I cannot ignore that. I cannot say, okay, I'm not brown, or I don't want to uphold that identity. But it doesn't matter. People will see me as brown. So I am brown. No matter if I'm visibly or not, I am Muslim. I am not European. So all of these identity, and I'm a woman, I'm visibly, and I'm cis woman. And so all of this identity, those identities are structurally related to power relation and discrimination. We have to acknowledge that's there. And that's from where the situated perspective or strong objectivity comes. And that's I see the standpoint theory that I always feminist standpoint theory, that it's my standpoint. It's not really my individual standpoint. It's that structural standpoint where I belong or not belong.
Not sure whether I got it right. So it kind of sounds like more like, unless we go through all those intersectionality, then we'll never have the understanding what's going on about us as an individual, though we are individual, but also if you don't understand of our colonial history, our history here, our history there, and this power relations.
Suppose in white person, they would say like, why do I need to know colonialism? Like, I didn't do anything. I didn't hurt any black people. I don't hate black people or hate any people of color. So why do I have to be tagged? But that means the person is not acknowledging the historical privileges that they every time they adhere. And the same as man, like, so in the power relation, whoever in a powerful position, whoever in the power and privilege work together all the time, even someone is like very well intended, they're very good person, they have to acknowledge their privileges. And that privilege is not personal privilege. It's the privileges that their identity gives them without even asking. So I think that's very important to understand, that it's not individual. It's about I'm women, and even though like so it's I think it's my constant struggle, I would say, to acknowledge the embodied experience, day-to-day experience of a marginalized subject. At the same time, they themselves belong in this power relation. So if they're not conscious about it, they might also able to reproduce the same power structure, same domination, same privileges. So that's my position.
No, it kind of makes sense. So even if you talk about like patriarchy is not like is there for a couple of 100 years. It's from the beginning of the human history.
Well, I'm still a little bit Marxist and Engels, influenced, although I know there are a lot of critics, but I would say that invention of private property, invention of family, a nuclear family are the one which actually systematized the power of the father. Patriarchy means power of the father. And then patriarchy, now if I say that patriarchy, it's not patriarchy anymore because there is no power, special power of the father. But there is like if everyone still bear father's surname, the family means father's family. It's not mother's family. It's a very simplistic way of saying things, but this is the example we can say that like marriage is, of course, the nuclear family is a patriarchal unit. And it's until it's like, dismantled, patriarchy is there. Like you cannot actually ignore that.
Because I think like the system is built on that history, isn't it?
Yes.
Like same with like colonial history. It's not like, like I've got nothing to do with the colonial history, but at the same time, the current history is built on last 300 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Colonial persecution. So, I mean, you just cannot say that I'm out of this because I'm not part of this, but you are part of it because
you are part of this. That like European colonization, there is a research that Indian subcontinent wealth from or money from Indian subcontinent literally funded British industrial revolution.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of the huge extraction of money and resources and wealth actually create. We are living on the consequences of that. So we cannot just ignore. Okay, I didn't do anything, so it's not my responsibility.
But you are also benefited from those things.
Yes, of course. Yes.
The highways, the motorways, the bridges, London, and all. So like someone won and someone lost, and the lost was a huge loss. It's not
huge.
Yeah. So like I think we kind of the way I want to do it, because it's totally unscripted. So
I'm not very prepared either. So
no. So that's the whole point is just like our like day-to-day understanding rather than
exactly
got into those like very deep stuff. But I mean, would it be okay to get back to your like your own story? Like, where did you born and raised? Because Bangladesh is a
okay.
We have those cultural identity as well.
No, it's very interesting actually. I was born in Rajshahi, and my father was from. Actually, he migrated from India to Bangladesh, which is a kind of really counter narrative of common partition migration. So he actually migrated in 1965 from Kolkata. He was in Kolkata, and that time he was working. And then there was a serial riots one after another, communal riots. And eventually he decided to no, I cannot actually live here. This is not mine. And then also there's a dream of Pakistan for Muslim people. So new country for Muslim people. There was a kind of, dream. So he left everything. He left his family, he left his inheritance, he left everything, and he moved in Bangladesh and got a job. And then the 1971 happened, and the 1971 my mother and my sister, they actually had to get refuge to his family in Birbhum, in West Bengal. So eventually then he settled in Rajshahi with my mother's family. And because he's from India, it was like he has a really posh Bangla pronunciation and very West Bengali. And he brought all the, we were the subscriber of Desh. So all of the West Bengal Bangla cultural thing I inherited from him. And all of the Michael Madhusudhan Datta, Rabindra Sangeet, Sharat Chandra, Vibhuti Bhushan. He brought a tank full of books from West Bengal for us. So we actually grew up, although in Rajshahi, but actually we migrated. Then he was transformed from Rajshahi to Dhaka when I was 5 or 6 years old. So from 6 years old, when I was 6 years old, I was raised in Dhaka, in Mirpur. So it was a quite, I would say, quite A little bit, like, because in Russia, you were kind of upper middle class. He had his status of, he used to work in a bank. So he has the bank manager status and everything. So it's a kind of good atmosphere, status wise. And then when we moved to Dhaka, we were kind of little suburban area, not really so. So we were not really upper middle class anymore. So we had a kind of class degradation, if I say, like mobility wise, class mobility wise. So I was there, and I finished my school. I went to Malalmatia Girls College, finished my college, and then I eventually started in Jahangirnagar University in anthropology. Yeah, that's my story.
Because I mean, anthropology is quite a subject. It's like quite broad as well. You can pick.
Yes, it's very broad. Like you can put anything and everything in anthropology. That's we always say that.
Cultural anthropology, physical anthropology, archaeology. So
like medical anthropology, biological anthropology, forensic anthropology. Like there's huge variety.
Yeah, I mean, this is quite funny story. I was talking to an Italian friend, and he was saying that if you don't understand bioanthropology, then you will not understand our human history. The way the brain, the chimp brain and the logical brain. So the chimp brain is always powerful. It's like, I think 5 times more powerful than our logical brain.
Okay.
So, so that's like bioanthropology. So basically, most of the people behave with the chimp is in control.
Well, you can't know everything. You have to be very, very focused. Even like medical science, like they deal with the human body. They are so specialized, like so specialized. Why can't we anthropologists be specialized? Like my focus is feminist postcolonial anthropology. A little bit of psychological anthropology, a little bit of, but I'm fine with it.
That's good, because I mean, one of my favorite anthropologists is David Graeber, but he's not.
Yeah, of course.
But he's not like feminist. I think he's obviously he's feminist, socialist, and all.
Yes, of course
he's like more specific in, like, why you are in a crisis. So I mean, bless him. I mean, he died during the coronavirus. I mean, what a loss.
Yes.
So kind of explain, like, what was your interest from the beginning? So like that was from the beginning when you started your degree in the university, or it kind of built on?
That's an interesting story as well. So my admission in anthropology department was an accidental one. It wasn't really intended. So I wanted to go anywhere, and it was very difficult, in Bangladesh to get into any public universities, because the admission test is very usually competitive. So I got in archaeology first in Jahangirnagar University. And in anthropology, when I was in archaeology department, I had a very bad experience with the head of the chairperson of the archaeology department. He was harassing me, sexually harassing me. So, and that time I was like, I was so lost at what to do. And then my friend, she was thinking to, she was actually bought a admission form for the next year for one of her friends. And she didn't want, then she realized that she doesn't need that anymore. So she told me, look, I have a form. Would you like to fill up for the next year for other social science departments? So archaeology was in arts faculty. So she had the form from social science faculty. And the social science faculty, I could actually have 3 departments. So I filled up the form, and I submitted the form, and I give the admission test, and I became the first in the admission test in anthropology department. And I was so happy, so happy. And then I called my parents. And that time there was no mobile phone, nothing. You have to call from the, university hall phone. You have to call them and wait. So I called my mom and said that, like, I did my admission test. My result is I stood first. and I wanted to switch from archaeology to anthropology. And I will lose 1 year because it's the next year. And yeah, they were fine. And my parents have all never actually, that's like, I think this unusual thing, my parents never forced their decision on ourselves. So whatever we choose for our life, they were happy. So then I moved, and then by this time when I was having that problem, because I was Jahangirnagar Anthropology is a residential university. I was living there, So you got to know that Jahangirnagar Anthropology is a feminist department. People are talking about Renu Ahmed, Manush Chaudhuri, Said Firdaus, Mirza Taslima Sultana. They are like radical teachers. And that time in 1998, there is a huge, actually from 1997, it started, like slowly build up this huge anti-rape movement. There was some incidents of rape in the university. So then there was the movement from students, and the faculties from Jahangirnagar, the Department of Anthropology, Jahangirnagar University, they were involved, very much involved, politically mobilized, like with the students of that movement. And I found that this place is like my savior, that my space. So I was very happy. So because of like from archaeology, in my first year of anthropology department, I get to experience. I also participated in the movement of anti-rape movement, and through that, I find that Jahangirnagar anthropology was actually renowned, or people who didn't like them, they said like in a bad way, but it is a feminist department. So I think that's influenced me. Jahangirnagar anthropology department influenced me most. I think whatever I am now at the moment, it's almost all built up by the influences I have from my colleagues, from my then teachers. And yeah, I taught there for 9 years before I came here. That's from first year undergraduate student to until I left in 2013. My life with the Department of Anthropology, Jahangirnagar University, was shaped myself, I should say.
Like going back to that particular incident with that archaeology department chief or whatever, did you try to do something about that? I mean,
no, I didn't actually. I do something means I just wanted to leave the department. I thought that I can't stay. And no, I was first year undergraduate student. I don't know anyone. He is the head of the department. And like, you can't actually do anything in that kind of huge power discrimination. Like, this is very strong power there. So no, I didn't complain because there wasn't, it's very difficult. And to be honest, that time, there wasn't any complaint procedure. Like after the 1997 anti-rape movement, and then consequently for a long time, every year, we like from us, we had a actually organization named Atimaj Porshod, and every 8th March, International Women's Day, we would like from that Atimaj Porshod, people would rally and then submit our demand to have a anti-sexual bill or policy or complaint procedure to the university. And after like I don't know how many years, like 10 years, 15 years, then eventually there was a case from and then High Court gave all the university, all the educational institution, their direction to have the anti-sexual policy in the university. So there wasn't any mechanism, and it was like I was talking about 1998. It's like even still now the complaint procedure is very problematic. But that time there wasn't any complaint procedure. So it's all I could do is just to leave and to a better situation. Yeah.
Because the things you already said about, this like individual versus collective. So like this male predator, so continue their things because there was no collective resistance against those predators. It's like more structured, isn't it? So,
I mean, not only that anti-rape movement. When I was teaching in the Jagannath University, there was complaint from a faculty member, a university teacher, a female university teacher against a male university teacher of our department. And we collected signature, we rallied, we demanded to take it seriously. Didn't happen. Nothing happened. Eventually, he was the accused person was, I think, temporarily suspended. Not suspended. I think temporarily had some kind of consequences. But then he eventually got promoted. It became really, really powerful. And the one who complained, she eventually left the university. So even being a faculty was difficult. So we've been there. We've been like in Jagannath University. We're very vocal. Like that's one thing I find very. People always say that, okay, what's the story of Jagannath University? Why there is so much protest of sexual harassment, rape, and everything? And I just say that because their women they deny to be silent. They don't want to be silent. They just they try to resist. They raise their voice, and we had that kind of. I think I know because I'm not there anymore, and my memory probably a little bit betray me for a more nostalgic picture. But I remember that when I was there was a sense of solidarity was there, that students could come to us to tell their story, there's a sense of solidarity. Okay, I could go there, I would be able to say something, or some people will support me, that faith was there. It's still there, I think. Yeah.
I think you did a talk on like something like you're a feminist, you're an anthropologist, you're born in like South Asia, and the precarity of your positionality in the decolonial politics.
Yeah.
So like going back to that, the South Asian setting, lots of things happen there, isn't it? That
yes.
puts lots of your understanding that your positionality there and here right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem remains, isn't it?
Problem intensified, I should say, not only remains. Yeah, because like for me at least, because and both places for problem intensified, because I left Bangladesh in 2013, 2013, and that was the time when political scene actually gets really downhill, like really become more violent, and democratic nature that I experienced in 90s, it's like really downhill. And so it's very difficult. Like when I was there was a kind of four public universities. The oldest four public university had the constitution that there is a kind of they had a kind of freedom, it's a kind of autonomous body, limited but autonomous body. So university teachers had a little bit of freedom to take their stance against any kind of inequality and raise their voice, which I saw, especially from Rehnu Ahmed. We saw that she always stand by of any kind of inequality, and that's my most she's the strongest influence that I have. So but then now it's very difficult. It's extremely difficult with Digital Security Act, with constant surveillance, with with extreme control over the university teachers, what can they say and can't say, it's become very, very difficult to actually actually resist. You know, you have to be very few people. You have to be always together to, like, it's a matter of safety nowadays. On the one hand, when I left Bangladesh, before I was there, it might seem that I'm kind of idealizing that situation, but that's probably my limitation. I will idealize, because that's my experience. When I was there, I had a permanent position. I knew that my rights, I knew what my rights is. I knew that if I protest some kind of discrimination or corruption, my job won't be directly affected, you know, and because I have certain kinds of rights, and it's not that, like, I felt that responsibility, that if I always felt that, look, university teachers in Bangladesh, public university teachers, are not like really highly paid. So, like, my friends who are in a private institution, they earn much more than the university teachers. So I always thought that, so what's the point to be a teacher of a public university if we cannot be accountable? You know, because that's the charm, that's the reason why someone should be a teacher, to teach, to take a position as especially anthropology, because if you are a social scientist, you analyze all kind of inequality and then practice the same. It doesn't, it's impossible. Like, how could you do that? That was my understanding. If you are critical about inequality in your classroom, in your writing, then you have to practice that as much as you can in your personal life or in your everyday life. So that's inseparable for me. But then now, in politically, it was very difficult in Bangladesh to do that, because there is a political, I would say, that one party dominance and one party control. It's completely like there is no existence. It's completely autocratic power, and there is no existence of any kind of dissent. Like any kind of dissent will be really controlled very forcibly. So that's happening there. And here, when I came here, first I did my master's in Hungary in gender studies, and then I got Wordsworth scholarship for doing my PhD in Ireland. And okay, when I was doing my PhD, I was okay as a PhD student. That's uncertain. There's 4 years, 5 years. I was a single mother. I kind of accepted that that's the kind of transition I have to go through. I was like expecting. It was hard because in Bangladesh, I had a kind of, I had a kind of position on voice or whatever it is. It's a different when you are a PhD student. And I enjoyed that, to be honest. I enjoyed to be powerless. I enjoyed to be like hanging out with the young master's student. Like, I really enjoyed that. But what happened after PhD here in the West from 90s, especially from 2000, from this 21st century, the huge trend of neoliberalization and the constructed precarity and the increase of fixed term contract, making more and more academic, more and more the scholars precarious. So there was a report, and European Association for Social Anthropology, they made a report, a research, published a report, Precarity report, and they saw, they had the survey only for the members of European Association of Social Anthropologists. And to be a member, you have to pay like minimum 25 or 30 euro. So only the people who could pay that money are surveyed. Even among them, only one third of them had a permanent position. 2/3 of anthropologists And then they are excluded the people who actually, the PhD student who couldn't actually be the member of the or many early career researcher who actually couldn't, if they are not in a position, if they're not in a job, then they cannot actually pay that money to be a member of it. Yes. So the precarity is really, it's unbelievable. It's a very financial insecurity. Many people have legal insecurity, because if you do not have employment, probably you will not have legal status of remain of the states. So many people also have this immigrant position, immigrant insecurity as well, migrant insecurity as well. So that's I think is a huge. I would compare that. I would say that Bangladeshi, or probably many South Asian, or university, at least I should say that the public universities, the old public universities of Bangladesh, is kind of post-colonial rather than neoliberal. But here it's completely neoliberal. In West, it's like Europe especially, it's completely neoliberal. Students are customers, and teachers are the service providers, and that's all. That's it. So, and it's very hard. So in that way, I would say that when there is to be active or to be critical about the power relations, about the dominations, about the inequality, about the manipulation people have in the academia, someone has to have a kind of secure position, because it's a precarious scholars. They if they are too radical, too resisting, and they might say like, how am I going to get my next contract? So it's always, because to get a next contract, you have to get the reference from your previous employer. So suppose you have a problem with your supervisor, suppose you have a problem with your PI, you actually can't protest. You always have to, it's kind of managerial situation, but you always have to keep your line manager happy. And to keep your line manager happy, you can't be really, if you are too critical, then you can't do that. So it's very difficult here to take a position because it's really precarious. So, but then there will be always some people who will do whatever they can do, even within their capacity. And that's one of the group I am involved is Picanto, like within IASA, and there's some anthropologists who are fighting against precarity in institutions, especially in Europe, and I am with them. So eventually you found some people who are actually vocal, who are trying to do something, trying to change this precarity within academia, trying to talk about more colonization, more about power relation, more about the things that I'm passionate about. Harassment in sexual harassment in academia, or any kind, like anthropologists, they're very critical about other society, or they are critical about racism, sexism, whatever it is, classism there. But when it happens to their own institutions, very few anthropologists will be very vocal in West, and that's hard.
No, kind of, you brought lots of things here. I mean, I'm not sure like how to unpack it.
Sorry, but also, I talk too much.
But no. But also, these are real stories. These are real, experiences. You lived memories. I mean, and I can sense it. There's like, I mean, I feel angry as well. Like the way your journey. I mean, it's like almost like this Spivak's idea about subaltern cannot talk. So like you always struggle to talk because of different kind of precarity always there.
Yeah, or maybe they are not their voice is excluded, or the voice or their speech is not heard in this institutional world, in this kind of academic. That's how I read her position. It's not that subaltern can talk, it's a subaltern are not heard. Or people who are in the position of power, or the systematic, the discursive system of academia or scholars, it's designed the way that they have to exclude those voices. So
I mean, especially the things you talked about, the academic institutes in the West. I mean, the structure, the hierarchy, the white male dominance, and you can see like what university is doing is trying to just like getting. I think obviously it's co-opted properly now with the neoliberal structure. The market can actually solve everything. Market can bring equality when it's not, and then the current government actually trying to make a new law. I think perhaps they made the law already that if you're a master's student, you cannot bring your family here. So that's the latest thing they're doing. So, and like these are the students who are coming from Africa. They're attached to their family. So like some of the like basic human rights, your right to family. Now they are saying that, oh, if you come here, you have to exclude your family. So like, I mean, you can see like how things are getting more and more structured and more precarious.
I think border issue, migration issue it's the, I think, most pressing issue in the world at the moment. I should not hierarchize like this way, but every time I see something, it makes me so angry. But I just like the whole visa process, whole the way they exclude, try to, and the whole constructing of refugees as crises, migration as crisis, and the more and more every year the borders are even stronger. The immigrant police are stronger, and then academics, they're talking about, oh, globalization, everything, border are making fluid, multiculturalism, transnationalism only for the people who are white privileged people, who have residency, citizenship of a Western first world country. People with the passport like us, they're not human beings. Their rights are. I mean, I think immigration laws, for me, it's a modern day racist institution because it says human rights, like first world country says that human rights or whatever it is, everyone, but in their own country, on their own nation, they differentiate people according to their rights. Their rights depends on their immigration status. So undocumented people have no rights. If you are students, you have certain rights. If you are like in Ireland, there is a six tier of visa status, and 6 tier of people is like making. I feel like it's a kind of apartheid. It's a modern, like contemporary apartheid of border politics, and it's so unfair and institutionalized that it's so difficult to talk about against it. And it's just people who doesn't have the experience of being not like taking their right, like they don't have the rights. People who do not have to face that, they do not have any idea what's going on of the people. Like, suppose I give an example, like in here, especially in Europe, because everyone in Europe, they assume that, okay, I can go to holiday to Spain, to Italy, like everyone can move everywhere. And so my daughter she's 16, and she has her friend from Spain. They came here for exchange student, and they can come easily, and she wants to go there because they invited her. And I had to tell her, like, it's very difficult to get the visa, and she said, like, it's heartbreaking for her. It's heartbreaking for me to make her understand the how unfair the society is, that she doesn't have the equal right of her friend that she hangs out with. And it's so heartbreaking for me to explain that when you have that passport, when you have that kind of legal status, you don't have the same right.
No, like sometimes, like Dundee, like the city I live, Dundee is quite welcoming for immigrants or like refugees, and we always, do lots of activism here. This is my personal story. So during the Syria crisis, we had this. There's a hilltop in like Dundee, and we went there all, and some kind of vigil with like candlelight, and people were reciting poems and the songs and all those things. And it was a rainy day, and my daughter, like the smallest one, was very young, like 5-6 years old. And when you go there, you have to park your car and then you have to walk. And since it's rainy and it's dark as well, so my daughter refused to come with us. We said no, she's so afraid to go through this darkness, and then and also all those things like the bugs and all those things. And then I try to relate this, like how when a parent from Syria or Yemen, they got on a dinghy boat.
Yep.
And then how did they kind of convince their children that this dinghy boat will cross Mediterranean, the vast sea?
The Mediterranean Sea, the desert in Texas, it's a human slaughter place. And people just don't care. Here it's okay if you survive, if you do not die on this river, or on the sea, or on the desert, then probably you're a little bit of human being. If you die, just die. No one cares. I was reading the book. I just finished that Lost Children's Archive. The lost children who tried to cross the border from Mexico to Arizona, to the desert. It's just heartbreak. Sometimes I feel that this is happening in the same world we're living at the moment. We know there's a war. We know there's a Syrian war, and war is happening. Except that, but in the apparent civilized, legalized situation, this is happening. These people are dying to cross the border, and no one cares. No one cares.
Especially in the complicity of the media, especially in the UK, it's quite toxic. What they do, they put pictures of those, people who are crossing through this boat. They will always put pictures of the young male bodies. So they just tell just one story, not the story of the female members of that family or the children. Sometimes I struggled, even the feminist movement in the Western world. What kind of response from there as well? Because that's the collective response they need. There's nothing there. I think you were quite critical about, how when they went to Afghanistan and then try to liberate Afghanistan's women from.
Well, certain kind of feminist, white feminist, Western feminism has always served imperial interests. But that doesn't make me deny the power of feminism, because there has always been the voices of black feminists, post-colonial feminists, who had the fantastic critical position, very strong vocal voices, and they're the one who actually push so many things. Like suppose even in the critical theory, feminist contribution, although is not recognized, but they have really good contribution. All the feminist theory, I find that is even more critical than any other kind of apparent critical theory. So, but mostly they're not recognized. Mostly they are silent. That they are silenced. But I'm just saying that that's all had to be done. That always has to be told and reminded again and again. That's what happens in colonial period, that when Western white feminism became the, they had a kind of, the Spivak's famous dialogue, like saving brown women from brown men by white man saving brown women from brown men. So that's idea of saving the brown women and rescuing them, being their savior, white savior image, has always been there, and it's one of the very strongest. And I think there are people who always constantly reminds us, but when things happens like when Taliban took control, it's very difficult. So when the historical moment arrives, on that moment, it's very difficult to, let's suppose in 9/11, it was very difficult for after 9/11 to talk about Islamophobia, talk about to be critical about that, because the media, the whole society became like black and white, either or. And my feminist position is always in between those binary. I always find myself in between those binary. So there are people who were saying the Taliban as like when America left, because Taliban took control. So like there are some left male intellectuals who welcomed these as a end of American imperial power in Afghanistan, which is very, very naive. Because there are like more than 80 US military base all over the world. And if there is, it's a very visibly American imperialism is nothing happened, like it's nothing. It's just a kind of symbolic awkward or humiliation. It's nothing really serious. And then they're not actually acknowledging the what Talibans are doing for women, because Talibans are, defeated American empire. So they're okay. They're fine. We don't have to think about women at all. And then the opposite side is like in the Western media, there is like women are crying. And in my Facebook page, I have different kind of feminist Facebook page or social media page, Twitter group. White women are like literally crying their eyes out, like their eyeballs out. They're like saying that. And while I really respect their feeling, I feel that, okay, patriarchy has a many different forms. And this is one of the form, very bad form. But in Western society, there is many other types of form that we actually accept it as an acceptable thing. The way we treat women in Western world, the statistics of, if you look at the statistics of rape and the victim blaming of rape is still there. There's nothing, like very minimal change. Nothing happened. But then it's always the feminist, white feminism is always very, very interested to saving other women than actually looking at their, I mean, of course, there is a huge resistance for their reproductive right. And look at the reproductive right movement, like abortion ban in everywhere is happening. So, okay, I'm fine. I'm agree. I'm saying that, yeah, the woman situation of Afghanistan is very severe. We need to support them, help them, but don't try to be savior. Rather see, listen, or amplify the voices of resistant Afghan women, if you can. A resistance of those women who are fighting, who are there fighting, and who want, ask them, what do you want? How can we amplify your voice? How can we support you, fund you, give you money or whatever it is? So contact with the women who are there, who have been fighting for fighting against all kind of in power dominance, like they fought against American imperialism, they fought against Taliban. They are there, so have a solidarity with them other than rescuing few women. And so I think we always need to remember, like, if you have, if I see myself as a post-colonial feminist, so we always have to remind people whenever things are, whenever history repeats like before, we have to remember and remind, look, what's happening? Calm down, think, stop. Like, try to don't repeat the same history of being the ally of the imperialism. And especially in Afghan-Iraq war, like what feminism has always supported and used to justify the invasion.
I really want to touch like one of those things, especially like how the capitalism, plays a big role in terms of persecution of women. So like the way I see, like, women's liberation is linked with, the dismantling of capitalism itself.
Our leftist comrade would always say that, like, okay, don't talk about daycare, don't talk about sexual subjectivity or freedom, or don't talk about reproductive health. Rather, let's dismantle the capitalism, and then we will fix all of these things. But I think it has to go hand in hand, because there is no guarantee that if we dismantle capitalism, because my position is as a socialist feminist, I think that it's two systems, like it's patriarchy can exist, can be co-opted in any kind of system. So and if its resistance also can be co-opted in any kind of system. Okay, so it's co-option. So what's happening, and that feminism is kind of co-opting all the demands, like small demands, of which for betterment of women, the feminists are struggling. Kind of the capitalist state or neoliberal state or neoliberal system is co-opting. And I don't think that we should stop that. Stop that in a way that we are living human beings. We need support. Okay, we need those migrant women who experience gender-based violence to access the support that they need. They are real human beings, so they need to live. We have to be with them. We need to fight for our current existence. If we do not fight for our rights at the moment, then we can't be your comrade to change the system. If our duty is only to clean the office or cook for the comrades, then we can't be your comrades properly. So we have to always constantly counter sexism in every system, within our comrades, within our family, within our personal life, within our institutional life, within systems. So we have to be vocal about sexism in every aspect. At the same time, we will be in solidarity with changing the system of that. Socialist, I think the welfare state here in Europe, it's a result of a socialist movement, socialist struggle. It didn't come automatically. It's kind of contradictory with market economy. But so we need to achieve that kind of little bit of achievement, that of equal rights of people, even within the neoliberal system. We cannot postpone that.
Kind of makes sense, because then what you said, that how like any other system can also co-opt patriarchy. So if you look at the history of patriarchy, it came before capitalism as well. So then capitalism came in and then also co-opted patriarchy. So there's no guarantee that the next system will not co-opt patriarchy the way it did historically.
Historically, it did actually. Like we saw in socialist countries that there are very, very good changes for women become the equal laborer. At the same time, in personal relation, in in personal sphere, there wasn't much change happened. Like women keep doing their work in in household, and they remain the main reproductive, the main. They're the labor force of reproduction, social reproduction. So that didn't actually change much. So we need to be we always need to, I think for me to be a socialist called post-colonial feminist is kind of all the time. Like I always influenced by Bell Hooks' dialogue. She always say that capitalist, heterosexual, she will say all the thing together in one sentence. Sorry, I can't read
no, that's okay.
At the moment I remember. But we have to always fight in multiple front all the time. I know it's very hard. It's not everyone can change. So I remember my favorite feminist scholar, philosopher, Rosie Bragaty, she would say, we have to do in doses. Doses. You can't do all the time. You have to take doses and then take out from self and then out again resist.
I think one interesting story you told in one of your writing is Barbie doll politics in the first this like famous civil rights leader, what's her name?
Maya Angelou.
Yeah,
they made Barbie of Maya Angelou.
Can you tell that story a bit?
I read Maya Angelou's autobiography. She's just absolutely amazing woman, and her poems Still I Rise. That's one of my most influential what she said, thing that it's always guided me as a to fight against whatever happened and then rise again. She was involved in civil rights. If you look at herself, her personal is political is personal, so entangled. And we have a publication series named Public Nibiggan in Bangladesh. Editor is Rehnuma Ahmed, and we have 7 ops together. We publish writing for public reader to be more communicative way, so that our critical understanding of society can be translated in for anyone, any public, in a communicative way. That's our motto. And the first series, I published one booklet called Politics of Doll Playing. That booklet was actually very widely read. And in that, I showed that how the company Mattel, who produced Barbie, has always worked with the Cold War. Barbie came with the same year when the kitchen debate happened. So Barbie has always been used as a weapon of Cold War, of consumption, of all kind of consumerism. So she upholds all the ideology of American imperialism. And Mattel, the way Mattel produced dolls, and they are actually co-opting not only feminism. They are co-opting all kind of multiculturalism as well. They have you find all colors Barbie, all is skin color Barbie, and they have everything, which people really welcoming, saying, okay, little girl can actually connect with that. I never bought any Barbie doll for my daughter, and because it's the body of the Barbie is so impractical. Although they try to change it, it's still like it will always be the neoliberal capitalist weapon to convince or raise the little girls to this world socialization process. So it will always be, and that I will always be suspicious about Mattel and Barbie. And then when I saw that, it's basically the symbol. Maya Angelou Barbie was basically the symbol. I felt that how the collective, her collective political participation, her history is completely erased by her Barbie, by her doll. And that's what individualizing her a kind of collective figure. And that's what I thought, this is very symbolic. symbolic way to see what's happening, what's wrong in this neoliberalization of feminist idols.
Because the problem is when you like make it private, like individual, then it becomes just one story, that one success story, nothing to do with like the politics, the movement. It's much more sinister actually, It's not only like promotes the neoliberal model of the consumption, the capitalism, the profit making, but also it's like marginalized all those great things she did. I mean, the way you kind of mentioned about her poem, you have to rise up again and again, isn't it?
Still we rise. The most famous poem is Still I Rise, and that's really, I think that's for every woman or everyone who struggle to survive in this very, very unequal world. Every single marginalized subject who feel that the society is constantly trying to crush them, silence them, completely erase them. For them, it's the extremely motivational poem, and for me, it is a very, very motivational poem. But then I actually changed the name of her poem. I changed Still We Rise, because here I don't want it to see I anymore. I know it's for I, it's important. Yeah. But then we always need to see how we can rise. Like my rise can also help to rise someone else, or together we rise. So
if you don't rise collectively, then it will be again, like that kind of tokenism again. So our emancipation relies on emancipation of all those marginalized women from around the world. So it's not only like, making emancipation in London or New York or like Dublin. Thank you so much, Dr. Nasrin. I've learned so many things from this conversation, but also I think the things you are doing, the things you did in Bangladesh and the things you are doing here, I think these are quite, very inspiring. So obviously,
I am nothing if I didn't have the wonderful, fantastic colleagues, friends, women that I encounter. It's simply my Jahangirnagar anthropology department, my colleagues, my friends. I saw so many. I'm so lucky to be befriended by so many powerful women in my life that without them, I'm just nothing.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for inviting me. It was like really, really enjoyable to talk all of these things.